Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Open Mic Discussions. Tonight, we're going to have some really cool conversation, some important conversation for those of you, any of you that have ever struggled with alcohol or are currently struggling with alcohol as well. This is going to be a very important podcast, and we're also probably going to talk about jiujitsu. And towards the end, my good friend Denny is going to play some very cool music. How you doing, Denny?
I'm good.
Good, brother. Good to see you. I love the hat.
Yeah, my label likes me to wear the hat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I collect hats and my manager saw me with it one day and he goes, "Okay, you got to wear that hat all the time." And so then I was like, "What if I don't want to wear the hat?"
No,
So I do it for him every once in a while.
that's cool. So what how often are you playing? Are you in the studio like every day or what are you doing?
No, we recorded thing is I got my record deal before the COVID thing hit.
Hmm.
And it was like a long, year and a half, 2 year process before that. And we recorded 8 songs, got them in the can. So it was an album basically. And we were getting ready to do radio tours and all kinds of stuff like that. And then the COVID thing hit and everything just
Came to a stop.
stopped. And
Yeah.
then it was, the plan was kind of, to bring in social media influencers and then try and do it that way. And then I had to be a social media personality and stuff. And most of us musicians, we just want to go play.
Yeah, not
And
mess around with all
then
that.
everything kind of just slowed down and uh we're trying to revamp it back up again. I had a conversation with my manager the other day and he's been in Nashville and he said there's some things going on in Nashville uh that they might like what I'm doing. So I mean I've got all the stuff recorded, we're ready to go. And so I go play. I play a lot of benefits. I have friends that'll go, I ask them if I can open up for their bands and stuff. And
That's
it's funny. I
cool.
opened up for the guitar player for Sepultura one night.
Wow. That's
Me
awesome.
playing my gospel music and him playing his metal.
Yeah, I haven't heard of Sepultura in ages. I used to listen to them when I was younger, but man, I haven't even heard of them in a while. That's crazy. Can you hear
So
me?
let me see if I understood. Okay, I think I've got I have a keyboard from my iPad, and it apparently has this glitch that says accessory not supported. And it's like this
Uh,
ongoing thing, that it won't go away. And I finally did a hard start and took it off the keyboard thing, and now it works great. But I have nothing to stand my iPad on. So what I did
I
is I set the keyboard up, and then I set a towel over it. I set it on top, and so it's covering the speaker is what it's going on.
Well, that's okay, man. Hey, whatever works.
So I'm just listening. When I go like that, I'm just trying to hear you.
Okay, cool. So are you you said you're performing every once in a while. You played with the Sepultura guitarist, right?
Yeah, it was kind of he did an acoustic show. Um, and it was with another band too that had a name that I'm not going to say on.
Um,
Yeah, it was kind of a weird. It was a weird venue.
yeah.
Really, it was a lot of fun. I've got a friend. His name's Vic Vega, and he's a Rod Stewart impersonator.
Oh,
He does
cool.
a Rod Stewart whole show. It's really cool, and he plays a lot. So I try and go play with them whenever I can, and that's a really cool crowd because they're all like 40 and up, and they love
Yeah.
what I do. And I do benefits for churches and stuff. Whenever anybody needs a band, I just say, "Hey, I'll play." I don't charge anybody when I go play.
That's cool.
Um,
You're just excited to play for them. That's awesome.
yeah, my ultimate goal is to get like all my side businesses going to where they can support me to where I don't have to charge anybody to go play the music.
Yeah,
Because
well, that's interesting. Yeah, so you talking about the side businesses or like the cryptocurrency stuff? Because you've sent me some stuff too to kind of look at, right?
yeah, I'm into crypto. I've been doing, I was, me, we met because I was in the martial arts business. I had a
Yeah.
studio back then. And when my 10-year-old was born, I decided I didn't want to do it anymore. And so I got out of that. And I've always kind of been in the supplement game and like the network marketing industry and stuff like that. And I branched off, into the crypto genre last year. And I have that new thing I sent you.
Yeah, I need to
You
check
gotta
that.
watch
Wait,
this.
did you send me the link yet of because I know I missed the time, but I think it was recorded, right?
Yeah, it was a recording. So yeah, watch out when you get a chance because that one's really
Okay.
cool. But it's not, I got tired of the whole lotions and potions and pills and stuff.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to do, but I'm just trying to build up residual income where I can go off and do whatever I want and kind of and that keeps on growing. And I really just want to travel and play music. I want to just go, I want to be able to call up some sort of venue and say, hey, can I come play? I won't charge you anything.
That's cool.
I'll pass a hat around, and that's kind of what I really want to do. And then eventually, hopefully that will morph into something bigger where people will, where, it will be supported through the music itself. But the music, and we'll get into that because we're going to talk about the whole, recovery thing.
Sure.
Um, the music was, you know, really started exploding after I quit drinking,
Oh,
and it was given to me, it's not something that I take credit for. And so I have to go give it to other people.
that's amazing. That's well, okay. So real quick, how are you marketing? Like, as far as, are you on Spotify with your music? Are you on YouTube where people can find you?
Yeah, I'm on Spotify, I'm on Apple Music, I'm on every platform out there. I'm getting ready to start up. I lost my YouTube channel a while back and I couldn't log into it. I mean, I had it. I had Denny Bowen music and I had videos that I put up a long time ago, but it would not let me log in to putting in the new stuff. And
Oh man.
it said email not recognized. I go, you just sent me an email. I got it right here. They kept sending me. And finally my daughter came in a couple weeks ago and she goes, oh no, here. And then it came back. And so I got my YouTube channel back.
Oh, so
So
you
I'll be able to
recovered.
put stuff
That's
on that.
cool.
Yeah, so I'm on if you just Google my name and you'll have things come up. It was really cool. I had some really good interviews in international type publications. I was interviewed by, or not interviewed, sorry, reviews. They reviewed our first release,
Mhm.
and the Hollywood Digest gave me a really good review. Indie Pulse magazine gave me a really good review. There's some cool things out there like that are on that you can search through, search engines and find my name out there. Um, I'm revamping my website now, so the website's down. That will come back up again here
Well,
soon.
that's cool. Yeah, send me, after this, send me your Spotify link to your music. I'll put that in the description for YouTube as well, where people can find it, so they can check out your music. That's really cool. So, when did you? I know we're gonna go, talk about recovery and stuff, but when did you first start playing music? Did your parents play music, or how did you get into it?
No, my mom was a big music fan. My mom loved to dance, loved the 50s music, 60s music, stuff like that. And so I grew up listening to her oldies but goodies records, the Great Rock Revival, Chuck Berry, stuff like that. And I remember being when I was in elementary school, my dad had a fraternity paddle, and that was my guitar. And I remember being in the living room playing along to these music before I ever even played guitar, setting up drum sets on the sofa and stuff, and just I always joke around. If you watch the opening scene of Goodfellas, he says, "As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster."
Yeah, I
And
love that. I
for
love it.
me, as far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a musician.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
I remember the first album I ever bought that I went out and got was the Osmonds Phase 3.
Oh, the Osmonds. Which one is that? The Osmonds.
uh, yeah, you're young.
I'm
You wouldn't even know. You know who Donny Osmond is, right? You've heard that name, Marie
Yeah,
Osmond.
no, I
Never.
don't think I have.
You
I
just,
know.
I just dated myself, and I just dated you. Like, so, so never
Hey,
mind. They were
I
they
know
were
who
really
Ozzy
famous.
Osbourne is. Ozzy Osbourne. I know who.
No, different. They were a really famous band back in Donny Osmond actually was the lead in Mulan, the cartoon, the
Oh,
animated
cool.
version. He was the one that sang the hit song and stuff like that. So he's still around doing stuff. But the brothers had a band. There was this whole family. There was 7 or 8 of them. 5 of them had the Osmonds. They were right around the same time the Jackson 5 was coming up. The Osmonds were coming up.
Interesting.
So it was that. I still have some of the albums in there too. I saved when I got rid of my album collection. I kept all my favorites, but um, Chuck Berry, Londonderry Blues, I learned how to play guitar on. Um, things like that. And then gradually, I think my parents bought me a guitar from Mexico when I was 9. It's a piece of
Oh, that
junk, one of
you
those things,
still
the
have it?
strings are, no, I got rid of it somewhere along the line. And then when I was 15, my uncle came over one night and he brought me, I was thinking maybe I was 14. He brought me his Epiphone 12-string guitar, which I still have hanging in the deal. And and he taught me how to play this song called Honky Tonk on it. And ever since then, that summer, my dad bought me my first electric, and I just that's all I ever wanted to do was play music. And my parents weren't real happy about it. you know,
Yeah.
they weren't they were kind of indifferent, but it got to the point where, if my grades were bad, my dad would take my guitar from me,
Yeah.
stuff like that. You're going to go to school, you're going to play baseball, and then you can play your guitar, things like that. Um, of course, once I started playing big shows, they would show up and go, "Yeah, we were there. We were right behind him the whole way." It's
Right.
like, you were
That's
not.
cool though. That's cool they would come to your shows. That's pretty
Oh
cool.
yeah, yeah, because they were partiers like I was. And then I I didn't really get in my first band until I was, I think, 18.
Mhm.
I played with my cousins. We had little things we did on the side in high school and stuff like that. But my first actually gigging band, I was 18 years old. It was a band called Head First. And then it was a cover band. And then when I was 20, I don't know, maybe 21 or 22, I got together with these guys that I had known. My mom and the bass player, my mom and his mom were best friends growing up. And and he actually went to high school with my wife, and so she goes, Steph? And I go, yeah. And so I called Stephen up. We had a meeting, and I said, hey, I want to put this band together. And he knew a drummer, and we got together and we named the band Napoleon Machine Gun. And within months, we were just like shooting up. We were we ended up being one of the biggest bands around here. you
Really?
know yeah, I mean, I've opened up from I've opened up for everybody from Spinal Tap to Loverboy to Cheap Trick. you
Oh wow.
know
Dude,
if
I've
you're
got to
my
let
age,
my
you'll know all these bands.
no, I gotta let my sister hear this because me and my brother used to mess with my sister because one of her favorite bands was Loverboy.
Yeah, I opened up for Loverboy.
Wow, that's cool.
So I mean, I've gotten to play for like thousands of people at one time, which is really cool. And then we were kind of a rock band, hair band back in the day, late 80s, early 90s. And then the whole Seattle thing hit, the grunge thing hit, and
Mhm.
it
That's
killed our
weird.
music scene here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
We would literally play most of the bands around, and a lot of the guys, if you ever heard of guys like Chris Boss and Ruben V and stuff like that, they're still playing. Chris Boss plays the national anthem at the Spurs games all the time. He's a guitar player guy. We all played in bands back in those days, and we would play on a Monday night for 500 people in the
Wow.
city, and that was not uncommon. That happened all the time. And then all of a sudden, a couple of years later, people were lucky if they were playing for 50. Kind of
Yeah.
lost the music scene, and I kind of got out of it. I played acoustic music for a long time. I played the acoustic scene here in town. Of Tycoon Flash, Krabby Jacks, the Comedy
Oh
Club.
yeah.
All these deals, and and then really just I didn't get in. I drank a lot.
Well, if you were going to Krabby Jack's, for sure you drank a lot, bro. I used to go there and I was drinking a lot too and playing poker there. I don't know if you remember them having the poker tournaments and stuff. Uh,
um, it depends on how long ago that was.
yeah,
you
I mean,
know,
it's been a while, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10, 15 years now, I think.
yeah, I stopped. I played my last show there probably in 2001.
Okay.
So I don't know if that was before your time.
No, I
So
mean, that's kind of like, so yeah, around, it's funny you brought up the grunge scene. That's what I grew up with, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden. That was my whole thing. Red Hot Chili Peppers, I got to see them. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Chris Cornell and in Austin, not together, but
yeah,
uh so that was kind of like what I grew up with and inspired me, But yeah, that's interesting. So okay. So you said, let's go into it. Let's dive into it. So having a problem with alcohol, what was your experience and how did you get over it?
I started. My parents were both alcoholics. Uh, Most of the people in my family, aunts, uncles, everybody, they drank. I mean, when I was a little kid, that was the thing. I mean, it was just, we didn't know life without alcohol. And so I grew up with it. And I really didn't drink a whole lot until, I didn't drink in high school that much because I was allowed to drink at home. They used to
Mhm.
joke around and say our mom used to put beer in our bottles, we were little kids. But I could come home from football practice and say, Mom, can I have a beer? She'd say, just one,
Yeah,
things like that. So I had no desire to go out and sneak out and go party. I didn't, and that kind of scared me. I didn't like not having control like that, you
sure.
know. But when I was 18, now I'm going to date myself again. When I was 18, the drinking age was 19.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
this was back in 1982, summer of 1982. Was it 80? Yeah, I graduated in 82. Yeah, summer of 1982. I turned 18 years old, and a friend of mine was 19. So he would come pick me up, and we'd go down to the ice house, and we'd get a case of beer, and then we'd stop at the liquor store and get a thing of Jack Daniels, and it was on. And I was
Yeah,
like, it just, I don't want to say it was liberating because it wasn't. It was actually putting me in prison, but it was just
sure.
let go. I didn't care about anything anymore.
Yeah,
I could be the life of the party, and I just never looked back. I drank and drank and drank and drank, and then I started playing in bands right about that time. So that led to it. And the guys I played in the band with back then, they owned a bar, and
oh
so
man.
we practiced at the bar every night. So we would go hang out at the bar, drink all night, and then at 2 o'clock the bar would close. And we'd practice till 4, and then I'd get up at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock to go to work.
Yeah.
And that went on for a year. And then I got in the band, the Napoleon Machine Gun thing when I was 23, something like that, 24 maybe. And now we're playing bigger shows, and we're playing venues where you walk in, and the owners of the clubs and stuff give you bar tabs. And I
Uh,
remember when we opened up, we played La Semana Alegre. I don't know if you remember that festival we used to have here. And we used to have these huge
yeah,
music festivals in San Antonio. I
really?
mean,
Okay.
you'd have Kiss and Extreme and
Okay.
Judas Priest and all these people playing
All
all
the
for like two
huge
weeks
names.
straight.
Yeah.
And I remember we got a trailer one time. We had our own trailer, and the Budweiser guys came up and said, "What kind of beer you want?" And we're like, "Really?" They had kegs out. They just wheeled a keg in.
Yeah, so it's next to impo I can't imagine being in, I was never like in a band per se, like a big band or anything, but I can't imagine being surrounded with that, having that alcohol, where you're already got this problem with drinking, and then you just surrounded it and, giving you a free tab to drink as well. That's gotta
Yeah, it
be
was it was that show we opened up for Spinal Tap, and I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Spinal Tap. Spinal Tap's kind of a
I
fictitious
never
movie
have.
about this band. And I don't know if you've ever seen the movies like Best in Show and The Mighty Wind and stuff like that. They're kind of the parody type movies. Well, the same people did Spinal Tap. It's about a fake band, but the band was huge. I mean, they would go on tour and play.
Mhm.
So we got to play, and you'd know the stars, but we played in I don't remember the show that they
Yeah.
had. They were one of the jokes in the movie was they had these pods that they would come out of, and they would get stuck in the pods, and they had that as part of their show. Well, they have pictures of me trying to get in the pods backstage,
Uh,
and there were so many of those shows that I see famous bands we opened up for, and I look at tickets and I go, I not a clue, don't
you
remember.
don't remember. Yeah.
Don't remember any of it. Yeah, because it was just you just drank. I mean, we'd go to uh, we'd go to sound check sometimes if we were the opening band for like national acts. We'd go to sound check, and we'd get there at like 5 o'clock, but we didn't get sound check till 6. And me and the singer would go to the ice house behind, and we'd get a 6 pack of tall boys, and we'd drink 3 each before we went into sound check. And
Mhm.
this is a normal night for me on a gig night. And then we'd do sound check. I would drive home, which was 10 minutes, 5 minutes from the venue, and I would take a shower real quick, and I'd come out and start restringing my guitars, and I would drink a beer while I was restringing my guitars, and then I'd pack everything up. I'd get a beer for the road back up to the club, and I'd drink a beer on the way to the club, and which was 5 minutes away. I'd get
Yeah.
in, we'd load everything in, and then we'd go to the owners and say, "Can we have our tab?" And they would give us our bar tab, so we drank free. And we'd go on at like for the opening acts, we'd go on at like 9 o'clock. So I would probably have 3 more just walking around the club. I'd get the club at like 8. And so you think by the time 9 o'clock rolled around, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or 9 beers. And then we'd get ready to go on stage. I would get 4 or 5 beers and set them on my amplifier. And while we were waiting to go on, within a minute or two, I would just slam 2 or 3 of them. And then
Yeah.
we'd start playing. By the time the third song's done, I've finished the other two. Now they're putting the shots up on the rails for us. And that
Well,
was and this was all before, we'd finish playing our set at like 10 o'clock. And
did
then
you
we'd
drink it
hang
all
out to watch the rest of the night.
did you drink it all? Like, were you ever drinking because you were nervous to go on stage, or you were just drinking just because?
Just drank. I never thought about it. We just drank. Yeah, sometimes your adrenaline's pumping and but no, we just drank because I drank when I didn't play too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it really had anything to do with nerves. And that's just kind of an example, and then you figure you're there from 10 till 2, 10, 11, 12, 1 to 4 more hours
Mhm.
watching the headlining band playing everything else, and you're drinking for 4 more hours. So I don't know how much I drank,
Jeez.
but there's probably, I don't know, 12, 15, 20 beers, in the night, plus a few shots, I don't even remember. And I don't remember people. I have people come up to me all the time. Hey, Danny, what's up? And I'm like, hey, what's up? You do that thing. I have no clue who you
Who
are.
are you?
And then they'll start asking about other guys in the band. I go, oh, it's from the club, it's from the bands. They knew the bands. And just the people that I remember were the people that I associated with a lot and still associated with throughout the years. But other people, not a clue.
So how long for you did this go on for? Like, at what point did you say, or what
Okay,
changed?
that was in the late 80s, early 90s. Um, and I stopped playing. That band kind of broke up around 93 and 94. Right in 94, 95, I started playing the acoustic music scene. I did that through 2001. So there was another 6 years there, I guess, of owning a martial arts school, and teaching all day long, and then running home, changing clothes, grabbing myself, being at the club, being at Krabby Jack's by 9 to play till 2, and then finishing up there, coming home, getting at home at like 3 at night and going to sleep, and got to be up for your 7:30 class in the morning. And so that just kept on going. And I stopped playing live in 2001. I stopped playing live completely. I just said, I'm done with it. And then but then I was a homebody. So then I drank at home.
Yeah.
I didn't quit drinking. I just started
You
drinking
weren't
at home.
going out anymore and drinking. You were just drinking at home. Yeah.
No, just drinking at home. And then we'd go out every once in a while. Yeah, I'd go out and have drinks with people and stuff like that. But the gigs stopped. And, I drank a lot still, but probably not nearly as much as I did when I was playing. When
Yeah.
you were playing, it was just boom, 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 just nonstop. And it wasn't until uh in God, where would that be? What year are we in now? 2003. So this is probably 2000.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2012. So 2009, 10, 11. I had gained a lot of weight. My blood pressure was rising. I wasn't feeling good, and that's when I started going like, okay, the whole AA is for quitters thing is not funny anymore. you know, um, but I realized at that point that I'm not quitting. I don't know how I'm gonna quit. And it's weird. It's like you're looking. I have a song I wrote, and it's called Six Pack and a Bottle of Wine. And I tell everybody I call it Six Pack and a Bottle of Wines because that's what I drank every night. And I also call it Six Pack and a Bottle of Wine because I couldn't call it Six Pack and a Bottle of Wine, 2 shots of bourbon, and maybe an extra beer, because that's also what I drank every night, and it's about, the first line is sitting here staring at the ocean, 6 pack and a bottle of wine. I think I'm going to make a potion, hoping it'll make me feel fine. And it was about looking across the ocean. It's just like, I'm not getting across that.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was no, in my adult life, I had gone 2 times, I think, more than a day or so without drinking. And they were both because of one time I was on antibiotics for 26 days. I cut my thumb and had flesh eating bacteria. So I had an
Oh, shit.
operation. Yeah. And so I was on antibiotics for 26 days. And then I started drinking again right away. And then another time, I forgot what it was for, but I quit drinking for 9 days.
Mhm.
But that's the only 2 times in my adult life that I'd gone any length of time My normal was, Monday morning waking up going, okay, I'm quitting drinking. I'm going to quit drinking today, and then by 5 o'clock, my friend Greg we would do kickboxing, and he'd go, hey, you going to quit? And I'd go, no, it's not happening. Usually by 4 or 5 o'clock, I was like, nope, not today, not this week. And I had to start on a Monday, because so then I knew I'm going to drink a whole nother week. And it wasn't gonna end. I had no clue how, and then I actually had a friend of mine, real good friend of mine, Lori. She went through an outpatient AA type thing, and I had no idea she was having issues, but she said she was, and she said, I went to this thing, and she knew I drank, and I think this is why she told me, and she started talking about, in the meetings they were talking about, people would say, how are you gonna go bowling and not drink, and how are you gonna go to the Spurs games and not drink, and go to Christmas parties, and that's the first time I really started thinking about all that stuff. And she started saying how she was doing that, and she was kind of had a little bit of an instrumental play in that, because it got me thinking about it. And then it was a few years later, it was in 2012, it was January of 2012, and I kept trying to quit. And I had a conversation with I had a business partner at the time, and we were just talking. She'd get pissed off if because everybody around her family drank, and I drank and everything else. And sometimes we were together, we were drinking, and she wouldn't talk to me the next day. She hated it when her husband drank. And so she was mad one night because her husband drank a lot the night before. And I said, don't get mad at him for it. Don't take it personal. I said, he's not doing it to make you mad. I said, you don't come into play. We don't care whether you get mad or not. We're going to drink. If you want to join us, great. If you don't want to join us, great. If you're going to be mad, okay. If you're not going to be mad, okay. It doesn't matter. I said, and at that point I said, as a matter of fact, there's not an alcoholic out there that wants to quit drinking. And I said that, I remember saying that to her. And I said, we don't want to lose our families. We don't want to get cirrhosis of the liver cancer. We don't want to get DUIs, but we don't want to quit drinking because that's our life. That's what we do. And she goes, well, you're going to have to ask God to take that away from you then. And so I did. And we had these spiritual conversations all the time, and so I did. I looked up in the air and I said, okay, God, I don't want to quit drinking. You got to take it away from me. And I didn't think anything of it. And that Thursday, we had in our kickboxing studio, we had a team in the rodeo cook-off every year. We're called the Smoke Boxers. And so I was talking to one of the guys about it. I said, you know what? I said, I wanted to quit drinking next week, but the rodeo cook-off's on Friday. And then he goes, yeah, and Super Bowl's next Sunday. And I go, damn it.
Got another thing.
Yeah. And there's always something. And he goes, well, why don't you just quit drinking for Lent? And I go, okay, I'll just quit drinking for Lent. And so I blew it off. Well, that Sunday, a couple of days later, we had everybody over to the house. We had parties at my house every weekend, so everybody came over. It was a Cowboy playoff game. I can't remember who they were playing, but they lost, I'm sure. Usually I did all the cooking and everything else, and I would drink throughout the day, but not quite as much as when everybody left. And so everybody had gone home, and it was a school day the next day. So my kids were in bed, and this was like 9 o'clock ish, and my wife went to bed. And so I pulled a really good bottle of wine out that I had that I was saving for me. And I popped it open and I poured a glass, and I pulled out this exact Bible right here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I opened it up, and I had it sitting on a deal, and I said, okay, God, tell me something. And I went like this, and boom, and I put my finger down. I landed right here on Jeremiah 35:8. And where's 35:8? There it says, and I don't know if you can see that, but
no.
Yeah. Anyway, it says, all our lives we have not drunk wine.
Gee, so right to the point.
Yeah, right to the point. It says, where is it? It's kind of dark. I forgot to turn the light on in here. Hang on, let me turn this light on.
Yeah, go ahead.
There we go. All right, now I can see. So anyway, I landed on Jeremiah 35:8. It said, all our lives, uh, there it is, all our lives we have not drunk wine. And so I look up, and this is a conversation that's out loud. Okay, everybody's in bed. I look up, I go, seriously? And I go, how am I supposed to quit drinking? Because I knew God was screaming at me at this point. And I said, the rodeo cook-offs on Friday. And I said, the Super Bowl's the next Sunday. There's no way. And so I said, well, I'm going to keep on reading. So I kept reading, and it get down here. It says, now therefore, where is it? It is. Yes, the children don't. It talks about God. These people came to Jeremiah. They were running, and their father told them to always live as nomads, always live in a tent, never drink. And God was telling them, look how these children, look how these children, they obey their father, unlike my children who do not obey me. They ignore my prophets. They ignore my warnings. And it says, now therefore, says the Lord of hosts, God the Father, I will bring upon Judah and all the citizens of Jerusalem every evil that I threatened, because when I spoke, they did not obey. And so I started thinking about all the warnings that I'd had, like all the times I drove home late at night and I'm sleeping and I'd wake up on the median, driving down the median. I could have killed somebody, waking up at stop, waking up and how long have I been asleep at this stoplight? Shit, 5 minutes, probably like 3 deals. Health issues, things like that. And I started thinking about all these warnings that I had been ignoring, but I'm still not convinced. And so I said, what if I would have started at the very top of the page? And at the top of the page says, neither you nor your children shall ever drink wine. And so at that moment, I felt every ounce of addiction just like drain from my body. I mean, what are the odds? Everything I said.
Yes.
Yeah, everything I said. What if I start up here and boom, and he kept going here, and there was no escape. And I remember I got a smile on my face, and I remember saying out loud, "Just God, it's over." Like this weight had been lifted off. But I looked up to God and I said, "Okay, but I am going to finish that bottle of wine."
Did you finish for real?
I finished that whole bottle of wine. I drank that bottle of wine. That was the last sip of alcohol I had. And that was like January 22nd or 23rd. I can't remember, 2012.
Well, so you had your friend, I think you said her name was Lori, right? That was helping you or talking to you about this as well. Were you going to church at the time, or had you tried going to church? Or
oh yeah, no, I was very, I was what you call, I was going through the motions. I'd gone away from the church for a long time. And then when we got married, came back, and I didn't understand how real everything was, I think, until I started having my business partner. I'll let her tell you her name if she wants to keep it out of here. We're real good friends. We're best friends. But we just started conversing back and forth about spiritual stuff, about religion. And she had a really cool thing happen to her. And then it was just, through that, and in the weeks and months leading up, I had people that were friends of hers and friends of mine praying for me constantly in my kickboxing studio. They would come in and they would all lay hands on me, and I'm like, okay, I'm looking out the window to see if anybody's coming. I was like, okay, guys, hurry up, man. I was really uncomfortable with all that stuff, And so, yeah, I was, there was a lot of spirituality there. And I think that's why it happened.
Mhm.
It took me opening up to that. If I hadn't gotten to that point, I never would have opened that Bible up, and that wouldn't have happened. So there was people that God put along the way in my path and in my life.
Who gave you that Bible?
That girl did, my business partner.
Wow, she sounds amazing.
Yeah, she gave it to me for Christmas or my birthday one year. I forgot. which one it is. Uh, but it's all beat up, you
Yeah, I
know.
saw. Well, hey, that means you're reading it. So
Yeah. Or I just don't take care of it, one or the other.
that's you carry it around with you, maybe. So that's good. So okay, so how long has it been now since you've quit drinking? What
11
year?
years.
A lot of years. Okay.
11 years.
11 years. That's amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
2012. So it's 2023. Yeah. I had my 11-year anniversary this past January. And I never had to do a program. I never had to count days. You know, people say, 3,000, 1,200 days or 3,500 days sober, you know, things like that. And more power to those people. I was given the grace that I didn't have to have that. And I tell people all the time that God didn't think I could do it that way. You know, there's people that go through the 12-step programs, that go to AA, that do all these things. There's no way. I mean, I couldn't even do school. How am I going to do that? You know,
Yeah.
I just did just the thought of going to a meeting. No, I mean, I was never going to do that. And so he spared me. And those people are a lot more dedicated, resilient, powerful. I don't know the word to use, that they go through all that stuff. I have friends that have been sober for as long as I have, that go to AA meetings and they do all that stuff. And I think that's really cool. You know, I had a miracle. And
Mhm.
so I was given this second chance. And I don't, I need to do more with it. I think that I was given the second chance for a reason, you know, and I think part of it was my music. And I get lost along the way sometimes, get frustrated. It's like, well, where am I? Give me some place to go play. You know, you give me the music, and where can I go do, where can I go do this? And I think God wants me to put a little bit more effort into it myself. You know, I always tell me, people, well, you need to pray. I said, God gave me my miracle. That was it. He gave me a huge one.
You need
He
to
gave me
go
a
down
Mercedes.
a Mercedes. You need to go down to the Pearl and just play there, bro.
Oh, just like sit outside.
Yeah, no, haven't you do you go down to the Pearl at all or no?
I'd
Oh,
been down there.
okay, hold on 1 second. I guess I didn't plug this in right here. Lose a little bit of power. 1 second. Boom, boom. Yeah, so if you go down to the Pearl, there's, different people playing music out there and stuff. No. There you go. Okay. Um, there's a lot of people playing music out there. I don't know if you've seen the guy. He's got like this huge, I don't know what kind of musical instrument. It's like this huge horn that he blows through. Have you seen that guy?
Is it a didgeridoo?
Maybe. I have no
Is it one
clue
of
what
those things you go,
Yeah, that's it. It's called what?
a didgeridoo?
Didgeridoo.
It's
Okay,
an
yeah.
Australian. It's like an Aboriginal instrument.
Yeah, it sounds real spiritual. It's
They would
incredible.
use it to communicate, I think.
Man, yeah, it's cool. So he plays down there a lot, and I've seen other people play, like violin, different stuff. But I mean, it would be a cool setting, just take you got an amp and everything, go down there and hook up your microphone too and sing. That could be something for you.
Yeah.
Uh, it's funny that you bring up the AA thing. I'll tell you a story. It's been about 2.5 years since I quit drinking, and I was going down the same road. Parents My alcohol destroyed my parents' lives for sure. And I was headed down the same road, but fortunately I had my wife to support me. And then our son was born, and that started to change everything. But I'll tell you this story. I was having a conversation with a friend, and this friend is like atheist, a strong atheist. And so we were talking about it, and I told him, I said, man, I said, we're talking about faith and how faith had become a big part of my life, because originally I grew up with religion and I kind of strayed away for many years of my life, and I came back to it after our son was born. And so I was telling him, I said, hey man, I don't want to say his name, but I was like, I said the reason why the faith has become so important for me is, you think about people that go through AA. I had never been through AA, but I used to wait tables for many years, right? And so there's a lot of people that going through AA that were
Yeah.
waiters and waitresses. So I got to talk to them and stuff. So I told my friend, I said, the one thing I noticed that was their saving grace from alcohol and drugs and addiction, I was like faith in a higher power. And he, even as an atheist, he's like, wow. He said, that's powerful. I've never, thought about that or looked at it. I said, absolutely. I said, it saved me, finding my faith in God again. And so for you, I can imagine that, especially you had support too. That's incredible.
Yeah. I tell her all the time, that she's the reason. I mean, I don't know what would have happened if I hadn't met her. It was so powerful. Um, and the conversations and stuff that led up to that, and I forgot, it wasn't until about a year or so later that I started remembering all the people praying for me.
Yeah.
And I remember I tagged them all on Facebook one day. I said, so and 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 so. Thank you guys for always constantly praying for me,
Hmm.
And I was very um I had an aversion to it. I love the praying. I love people praying for me, but not in public where everybody can see and with
Sure.
hands on me and stuff like that. I'm like, hurry up, man! People are going to come in.
I think
And
that's,
now it's no big deal,
yeah.
but back then it was. And looking back at all the little things that got, and then there was that period of time, and I want to get back there because there was all these other little miracles that happened in my life that I began to see, like very specific things that I would ask God for. And I think part of me stopped because I didn't want God to be my little genie in a bottle.
That makes sense.
He's not there just to give me everything that I want. So sometimes I don't ask. I'm
Yeah.
like, look, you've already given me this and you gave me this. I don't deserve that. I'll try and get that on my own. If you want to help me, okay. That type of deal. Um, and I know God says no a lot.
Yeah. Well, but the thing is, you do deserve it. And that's what people don't realize is that you do deserve that and more. And so I think it's important to ask. I think it's important to make a practice of it, but also, like you said, you're going out there and you're doing things like you're changing lives as well. So you're not taking things for free.
No,
You're
I mean, I to my whole goal is and it's one of, how they always say, don't wait till everything is perfect to go do something. That kind of that um, kind of mantra that a lot of people have, that
sure.
everybody's waiting till everything is perfect and then they'll go do this. And that's
Yeah.
kind of where I am with my music. A lot of times I'm waiting till I get this and I get this and I get this, or this happens and this happens and this happens, and I need to just go play. And I go play a lot of shows. I play a lot of shows where nobody's listening. And I did that for years when I played the clubs and I played Krabby Jackson, played that. I was background music, and I didn't
Mhm.
want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
That's why I got out of it. So there's certain shows I love to go play, and then there's certain benefits I'll go play, and I go, I know if I go play, this is going to be stupid. And sure
Mhm.
enough, I'm always standing over in a corner by myself somewhere, and nobody's listening. Not one person is listening. But I go do it. Sometimes I just go do it because then I get to try out new songs and stuff that I haven't
Yeah.
done, and try out a new tone on my amp or something. I just kind of treat it like that. I go play to go play. To not. I I got to start, and I have a hard time. That's the hardest thing I have. Is just back when I was in my rock and roll days, I was the guy that went out and got all the shows. I mean, I busted my ass to go. I was out every night. I was all over town. I was sneaking into clubs and talking to managers and all kinds of stuff to get. And I got us to the point where everybody wanted us to play. I'm in tight with a lot of really high up people back then,
Mhm.
and I knew how to work that scene, and I made a lot of really cool friends. And but this scene, totally different.
How
Totally
so?
different.
How's it different? Do you mean like
I'm,
everything's like
I'm
more?
playing. I'm playing gospel Americana music, and a lot of it is about, quitting drinking. And then I go play in bars, you know, and I'm like, I'm not saying that you guys have to quit drinking, but I'm just kind of giving you my story.
It's probably
I was
not
kind of
the
wondering how the club owners feel when I'm out there going, this is my
like,
story
get
about
him
how
out,
alcohol
get this
ruined my
guy
life.
out.
It's like, shut up, get out of here. I
Oh
really
man.
did. It's kind of funny because I remember before I quit drinking, I started writing this music, some of it, and I called it my Jesus music. I had just a couple songs that I'd written, and I started thinking about, I really like this stuff, but where would I play it, And I asked a friend of mine, I said, "Do you ever go to these Christian concerts?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Do they sell beer?" And he goes, "Oh yeah." And I go, "Okay, cool. Maybe I could do that." you know. And then a couple years later, God rips this alcohol out of my life. I have no more alcohol. I don't drink, and then I'm going and playing in bars.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, I'm playing at bars all the time, playing my music. And it's just kind of funny. I was stone cold sober.
I think that would be tough, and that's definitely not the venue for, telling
No,
people.
it's actually, the bars are where I have the most fun and where the people
Yeah.
listen to me the most. Every
Really?
time I play a bar, I have somebody come up and say thank you.
When you're talking about not drinking anymore, or you're talking about
Yep,
quit drinking? Oh, okay.
both.
Well,
I
actually,
don't ever tell anybody to quit drinking. I just tell my story.
I
I just
see.
tell the same story that I told you. That's my testimony, and I tell that story, and people love to hear it. And then I have songs that I've written about it, stuff like that, and people come up and they'll go, "Thank you for telling that story," because they're I'm struggling too, things like that. So I know it's sometimes you think, I've gone on Facebook multiple times and told this story, and sometimes I think nobody's listening, but then I'll see somebody out in public and they'll go, please don't ever
Yeah.
stop saying that because I hear everything you're saying. And I go, well, why don't you say you like it or something,
Yeah.
or comment? They go, I don't
I,
do
I've
that,
ha- I've had that happen many times. Sometimes for because I'm very outspoken, but I've had people say that as well. And I'm like, come on, leave a comment. Don't hide it. Same thing. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
and I
can.
noticed you were talking about your parents. I didn't go into the rest of it. It's like my dad died at 52.
Oh wow.
He had he my parents drank like fish. My dad was extremely overweight. Uh, he smoked for a long time, but quit smoking in the end. Just the lifestyle got him, and then my
Yeah.
mom managed to make it to 65. But she ended up getting she had a stroke, and then she had breast cancer, and then she had colon cancer, and the lifestyle ate them up.
That
You
the
know,
older generation seem to live like that. I mean, maybe not everybody, but a lot of them, it seemed very common. I don't know if you saw my post. It was not too long ago. I quit drinking maybe like 2.5 years ago, but since then I still smoke cigars. Did you see this post? When
I
I
don't
I,
know.
I just quit smoking cigars and I will not smoke anymore. And I really enjoy smoking cigars. I'd go to the humidor with my friends and go to their houses and smoke cigars. And so like this big good thing, because we share in conversation. So it's something that I enjoyed doing, but maybe I don't know, maybe it's been about a month now. I had someone reach out to me on Messenger through Facebook. And so I went to the university with her. She was a nun, right? And she was actually in one of my classes. Super, super sweet lady. She sends me a message through Messenger. She said, "Look, I know you enjoy smoking cigars," but she said, I think her brother-in-law or something developed cancer, some type of cancer in his throat from smoking cigars. And she said, I really hope you think about quitting. And so I said, you know what? I literally told her, I said, thank you so much. I quit because I was thinking, I was like, I'm doing all these things. I'm active. I quit drinking alcohol. I'm trying to be good. I was on carnivore. I fell off, but I'm going back onto carnivore now. Uh, but, really trying to do things to, not just live longer, but live, healthier in your stages of life, for our kids too. And so I said, well, then why the hell am I smoking cigars when she just told me that story? So I quit immediately and won't go back.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just heard you tell your story about your parents, and I was like, it's like I was listening to my own story
Oh yeah.
because you said, when you were headed down that road, I was headed down that same road.
Yeah.
and that was always my biggest fear, is to end up just, my dad died at 52. I'm 50. I'll be 59 next month. He
Wow.
died, 7 years before earlier than I am right now.
Hmm.
I was young.
How many kids do you have?
4.
You have 4 kids. I didn't know you had 4 kids.
Yep.
Wow. Man, so yeah, you got to stick around, bro.
Yeah, I got my 26-year-old is going to be 27 in August. My 22-year-old is going to be 23 in October. My 20-year-old is going to be 21 in September. And then my 10-year-old is going to be 11 in December.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
And that's the other thing is 11 months after I quit drinking, my son was born,
Wow,
my
that's a
10-year-old.
gift from God.
Yep. I would have never been able to raise him
Hmm.
ever. I don't know what would have happened. I would say it was a good trade.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that, like I said, for me, that's one of the primary reasons I quit as well. Our son was born, and it took a while because I was still having problems with alcohol as well. But finally, I was able to quit. Thinking about our son. Of course, my wife supported me, having finding my faith in God as well. But yeah, like your parents, same thing. I met my dad when he was 22. He just passed away recently. But with him, alcohol it was really bad. He was not a good person to be around, from what I understand, when he drank. Um, and like you said, you talk about with alcohol is this big social thing for you, right? So for my mom, she passed away when I was 8 years old. But when I was a kid, she was always drinking. She was a social butterfly, right? And so she had people around her, but it wasn't the right people. Alcohol can bring the wrong people into your life. And so, as a kid, I was seeing this, so I remember this vividly. And so once our son was born, I was still drinking for quite a few years until the last couple years. But was thinking, I don't want our son to see me drinking and go through what I did, as a kid. And so it's cool that you've switched things around for yourself as well, because, your kids are going to remember that, and your kids are going to carry on your legacy as well.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Well, so are you still doing jujitsu, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
Still doing jujitsu?
Twice a day.
That's awesome. So how long you been doing jujitsu? Because I know, so we mentioned the karate school. So me and Denny met many years ago. What was the first school I met you at? I'm trying to think of, because you've been doing.
I don't know if I met you when at Lupe's, was it something to do with Lupe, or did you have
Yeah,
something to do with Charles?
with Charles. Yeah, Charles Dudley
It
first.
was
Yeah,
Charles. I think it was a Charles, maybe is where I met you.
Charles. Yeah, and then after that, Lupe, of course, with that other big building that you had,
Yeah.
there, and you were doing kickboxing. Now I didn't know. I guess I didn't know what was his name. The guy that was teaching jujitsu that you were learning from, Kareem.
Karun.
Karun.
Yeah.
He was a black belt.
Yeah. He had just gotten his black belt back then, or he was about to get it. Karun and I started jujitsu back in like 1995, 96 ish. Um, he had started a little bit before me. He and a lot of Karun and me and Jesse Elder and all these people were all real good friends. And we went over to a friend of ours house to watch UFC. I think it might have been UFC 2. They go, "Hey, you got to come watch this thing." We're like, "What is it?" "It's these fights, man. You can do anything you want." I was like, "No way." And we went in. I
Punching the
mean,
balls.
they were punching him in the groin. They were headbutts. It was awesome. And so anyway, Kroon and I became like friends right away. And I was promoting competitions like kickboxing and stuff like that. I had a Taekwondo school back in the day.
Yeah.
And I told Kroon, I said, "Hey, there's got to be a way we can do this here in town legally. And so we got together the next day or a couple days later, and we went out and bought like headgear, pads, all this stuff, and we set up a video camera. And I still have the tape out in the garage somewhere, VHS, and we just filmed ourselves beating the crap out of each other. It's mostly him beating me up. He
Yeah.
was better than I was. And then we came up with these rules, and we just went to nightclubs and just said, "Hey, we've got these fights we want to put on. what's your weakest night? And they'd say, "Oh, Tuesday." And we'd say, "We get the door, you get the bar." They're like, "Oh, okay." And so we started
Man.
putting these fights on, and we were like, I'm the guy that did that in San Antonio before everybody did,
Well, so like,
and
was it
we
in a
opened up.
ring or cage? Was it in a cage
No,
or
it was
like
on the dance floor.
a dance floor?
Yeah, it was on the dance floor. If you look up, go on YouTube and look up San Antonio sneakers MMA.
Oh, I remember sneakers on Parent Vital, right?
Yeah, and so that's
Yeah,
where we'd have most of them. And so there's some on YouTube right now. One of our big tournaments was there. But anyway, and we opened up at the same time. We opened up the East West Grappling Club, and it was behind Planet K on Austin Highway. There's a little
yeah.
strip center back there, and we started. We had videos, and we would go to seminars and stuff like that. And the Machados, I think, were in Dallas, so they were the nearest ones. So people would go up there and then come back with what they'd learned, and that's kind of how it went. And then Karun took off he moved to Houston. He got a job in Houston and took off, and I quit. I was like,
You quit jujitsu, yeah.
we shut the club down because we didn't want to pay rent anymore, and he moved, and so I just didn't do anything anymore. And he
Yeah.
came back like 2 years later, and he had started training under a black belt down there, Pedro Alberto, private lessons, and he came back as a blue belt. And so he invited me over to a friend of ours. I don't know if you ever remember Mike Payne, but
No, no.
he said, "Hey, come over to Mike's studio, and I want to show you some stuff." And so I showed up over there, and we did one round, like a 5-minute round, and he tapped me out like 6 times. And
Gee.
the last time we ever rolled before he moved, we rolled for like 30 minutes and nobody won. He used to dominate me pretty well, but nobody
Yeah.
won that one. And he tapped me out, I think, 6 times in 5 minutes, and I quit. So I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore because I was competitive.
Yeah.
And then I would come back in and do it again. And then I opened up a studio in 2000, and I brought Karun over, and he subleased some space for me. So I had everywhere I went, Karun would follow, and I'd have a jujitsu program, but it was always late at night. And I was always there from like 7 o'clock in the morning. They'd start at like 8:30, and I was like, "Man, I don't want to stay." And
Yeah.
so it took me 10 years to get a blue belt. And
Yeah.
I
It
got my
took,
blue belt in like 06 or 08. I don't remember exactly. And then I quit again. And they all told Karun, I told you if you gave him a blue belt, he was going to quit, you know. And
well,
I
did
didn't
you
do
quit
anything again.
did you just quit just because, or did you have injuries or anything?
No, I just quit because I was just like wasn't dedicated to it. I had my studio was running all day long, and it's a lot of mental aspect to jujitsu.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I ended up, not doing anything for like 8 years, I think it was. And I'd shut my kickboxing studio down 10 years ago when Noah was born. And so I was looking for a place just to hit bags, and the UFC gym was going to open over there on Brook Hollow. And
That's, I
and
remember.
so I went into their little office they had rented out before they even opened up, and they told me, "Hey, if you sign up, it's $50 a month right now. Price will never go up, and you can do anything you want." And I was like, "Oh yeah!" And so I
Yeah, I
signed
do.
up just to go in and hit the bags. And I
Sure.
went in, and Bobby Southworth was teaching there, and I knew Bobby, and he kept trying to get me. He said, "Come on in and do the jujitsu," and I was like, "No, I don't want to do that. Why not?" I go, because I said, "I'll tell you what, I'll do the no gi class." I go, "Why don't you do the gi?" I go, because I'm a blue belt, and I haven't done this like 8 years. I look stupid. He goes, "Just do the gi." And then I said, "No, well, okay, I'll do it if I can start over as a white belt." And he goes, "No, you're going to start as a blue belt." And I'm glad he did, because I did it. And then I got it back pretty quick. And then I realized that I was a student again and just fell in love with it again. And I was there every single day for 5 years. I was there 5, 6 days a week. And then UFC gym shut down for COVID. And then Ohana came in and took it over. And I wandered into Ohana like when they were setting it up. And
Yeah.
I'd met Jason before, and I said, "Hey, you remember me?" And he looked, and I said, "From Rollins." He goes, "Oh yeah." We started talking. He goes, "Yeah, come on by." And I went in, and uh, immediately felt like the most welcoming place you could ever imagine,
Yeah.
especially for a gym that had over 600 members.
Sure.
And I've been there for 3 years now, and I train there twice a day, Monday through
And you're a
twice
brown
a day,
belt.
Monday through Thursday, and then on Friday, and then once on Friday. And I
You're
take the
brown
weekends
belt.
off now.
You're brown belt right now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. No, it's interesting that you mentioned about being frustrated with being tapped out. Um, I remember when I first started jujitsu, I wasn't frustrated at all by I was getting tapped out over and over again, it's normal. But I wasn't frustrated about that. What frustrated me was being once we started grappling within, I mean, it was probably like 3 minutes, I was gassed out. And then I think we continued rolling and maybe I couldn't it was like maybe we went 10 minutes, I don't know. And I felt like I was gonna throw up. It was so horrible, but what pissed me off about it was I've always been a long distance runner, prided myself on my cardio, and then here I was just freaking gassed out. I felt my body shaking. I felt like I'm gonna
Different
throw up.
game.
Yeah, just weak as hell. So the being tapped out didn't bother me, but just it was miserable. It was a miserable feeling, and being smothered,
Who
because
are you
you have the
training with?
guys. Well, I started with so I had the same thing, long journey, but mine has been more the reasons I've had to stop her from injuries. Okay. So the first one, I was actually at Helsing Gracie down like mainland, and it was a
Yeah.
long, long drive for me. Real cool guy, Josh Lauber, I think, right?
Uh-huh.
Super nice guy, but it was just a long distance. So one of my buddies there was a brown belt in judo, right? And he was a badass in jujitsu. I think maybe he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu as well. And so he's like, well, the Alamo judo is closer, much closer to you. That's where I train. Come on over there. And so I go train there. I think I'm training a month and a half and I get freaking, it's a Saturday morning. I get thrown head first into the mat, bro. I mean, just, I can't remember what kind of throw, but whipped me into the ground. And I try to tough it out. And then, I felt like my body's all jacked up. And then Monday rolls around. All of a sudden, I felt like this electricity going up my skull like spiders and going down my right arm. And I stopped and I said, oh shit, I'm jacked up, bro. There's something wrong. And so I tell my wife, she's upset. And so she takes me to the emergency room. I had a contusion to my entire spine and
Wow.
bruised. The doctor said you're luckily it's not bleeding. He said a lot of times football players will have it happen when they bleed. um and so for like a year and a half, I couldn't lift weights over 10 pounds, couldn't do anything. I was in extreme pain. So it took me a while to even get back in shape. And then I think it was maybe like 4 years later probably, I begged my wife to let me go back to jujitsu. She was not wanting me to go back. And so I went back to Mahasenki,
Uh-huh.
Helsinki, yeah, right across the road from Ohana. And so I trained with him until blue belt, and he's amazing, awesome. And then the pandemic happened, and I was gonna go back, but prices went up and stuff. So that kind of changed things. But I had injury after injury there too. I rolled with some guys that were way too big for me, like probably like 260 pounds, 275, jacked up my back again. And then so as you know, I was training at Ohana with you. And what's it been? I think it's been like a year now. I had to stop again because I had a purple belt do a neck crank on me and it messed me
Which
up.
one? Who was that?
I don't remember his name. He's a cool guy, but he just cranks through stuff. Arm bars too. Just he doesn't give you a chance. And so it really messed me up for like 3 months. Sleeping was no good. I was just in pure pain. So
I was gonna go talk to him, is why.
yeah, right. Like seriously. And I think that's just his style. I'll tell you off the camera who it was, but I don't know. I don't remember his name. He's a cool guy, um, but so then recently I told my wife, like the past month, I was like, okay, I'm going back. And she's like, oh, she's not having it. So I don't know. I want to go back so bad, but
You have there's how old are you now?
41. I was born in 81. So when you said you graduated in 80, I was like,
Yeah.
bro,
I graduated in 82.
or
Yeah.
82.
Yeah. There's a really cool Gracie breakdown, and it's a video. You can watch it on YouTube, and it's how to roll after 40.
Oh, really? Okay. I'll check that
And
out.
it really goes in, and it really will change there. It really goes over a lot of really cool stuff.
Mhm.
Um, Two of the things that really helped me a lot were uh, they have these thing called Boyd's belts. And there was this guy that used to train with them. His name was Boyd, and he was like 60 years old. And he was a small guy. He was like, 5'6", 5'7", like 130 pounds, 150 pounds. I don't remember exactly what he was, but he was a black belt. And he was rolling one day, and he came in the office and he was really upset. And they were like, "What's the matter?" And he had rolled with a blue belt, and he was upset that he couldn't beat him. And so who'd you roll with? And he said, "Oh, I rolled with Josh," whatever his name was. And they look out there, and this Josh is like 22 years old. He's like 6'1", 6'2", 220-pound athlete.
Yeah.
And they're like, "You're not going to beat that guy,"
Yeah.
And so they came up with called Boyd's belts. And every 10 years is a belt, and every 20 pounds is a belt. So if someone outweighs you by 20 pounds, it's like they're a belt above.
That makes sense.
If someone is 10 years younger than you, it's like they're a belt above.
Yeah.
And you really have to roll that way. You really have to understand that, because I'm the oldest, and there's only, that I train with on a regular basis. There's only two guys that are older than me, and the next person is probably 10 years younger.
Mm.
There's nobody. Most of them are, 90% of the people I roll with are 30, 25. Yeah. And I'm rolling with guys that are 28 years old that weigh 210 pounds, stuff like that. And they're good blue belts, good purple belts, and I can survive with a lot of them, most of them. Some of them I can't even survive with.
That weight,
but I don't. You have to understand that you're not going to beat those people, and when you realize that, you realize it's okay to tap. And you also have to learn who to roll with and who not to roll with. And I make a joke of it, but I walk into these big classes sometimes, and I start walking around the room. I go, "I'm not rolling with you. I'm not rolling with you. I'm not rolling with you. I'm not rolling with you. And I'm not rolling with you." And they know I'm serious.
Yes.
And they're good friends of mine. They're joking, but I'm like, "I'm not rolling with you guys today." Because they're beasts, And then sometimes they'll come in and I'll go, "Okay, guys, today's the day." And I roll with all of them. Or I'll roll with whoever the beasts are, because I do that to keep my game up and to see where I am, and out of respect for them too. It's like, okay, come on, and they know that I don't want to roll with them because they're good, and I don't want to get beat up. And so if you make it a game like that, then it's not so bad.
Aggression or something. If someone,
it's not like I'm being a dick and you're a dick and I don't want to roll with you. It's like no, I am not rolling. And then every once in a while there'll be some big giant guy come in, and I'll go, "I'm not rolling with that guy." I'll tell him, "Do not put me with that guy."
Well,
and
that's the mistake I made at Maha. That's one of the times I jacked up my back again. This guy, no shit, he's I think he told me he's like 275 or something. Super nice guy, and he's gonna see this, I'm sure, because he's on my Facebook. Really nice guy. But bro, the weight difference is insane. And he just stacked me one day. And my back's already had so many problems. I told him after that, and he was kind of mad at me at first, because I said, "No, bro, I cannot roll with you anymore. You're just too big."
I have to go when I have to roll with somebody like that. I just know how to defend myself, and I play defense, and I tap. They'll get to a certain point, and I go, "Good job."
Yeah.
And that's it. And most of them know me, and most of them calm down when they come. They know a lot of them will match your aggression. If they're going hard and you start going hard back, they'll go hard.
They'll go more. Yeah.
They'll go more. It's like, I let them get them out, and I let them try and beat me there. And I'm really good at defending myself on the bottom.
Dude, you have great defense. I was actually, I don't know if you saw, I rolled with Dennis and trained with him over at his house the other day.
Oh yeah.
And so we were talking about, because he did the armbar defense that you do. And I was like, "Oh, bro," I was like, "Denny's so good at that armbar defense, that like little scoop that you do or whatever."
Oh yeah.
First time I've seen that.
So anyway, you have to realize that, number one, who to roll with. You have to realize that there is that size does matter, age does matter. It took me till I was in my early 50s before I started going, "Okay, I'm too old for this." I'm too old to try to compete with that guy. I really thought that I could match with this guy.
Because in your head,
and there's guys in there that are they're just animals that are just, I have no business even being. And luckily I make friends with all these guys, and I learn from them. but there was no way I would ever even. I don't even want to spar with them. They're that good. And the other one is you have to learn to ride the roller coaster, because it goes up and down, and the valleys are sometimes you just get down and you're just like, I suck. I can't get any better. Why am I losing all the time? Or, oh, I'm hurt, or whatever it happens to be. And then all of a sudden it goes up, and now all of a sudden you're beating people and you're like, yeah, I get it. Now I get it. And then all of a sudden it drops down like a roller coaster, and it goes back down. You have to understand the roller coaster, and you have to know how to ride. You have to realize that it is going to go back up. And sometimes it goes, and sometimes it just stays down. And you're like, this sucks. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I get it now. Okay, there it is. That's what it was, you know. And then it drops down again, you know, that's why people quit, because they ride this roller coaster, goes down here, and then they go back up, and then it goes down. They go, I quit.
Yeah.
You know, they don't like the valleys. You know, they don't like that. It's such a humbling thing. You don't realize that when we go in there, every time we roll, it's to the death.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It really is. It's to the death, or to the someone gets maimed. You know, it's you're either gonna get something's gonna get broken, or you're gonna die.
Yeah.
If you don't tap.
That's why it's so like it's meditative. It's stress relieving, because you're put in the worst position. And then so you go into, out into the real world.
Yeah.
And, there's nothing that's going to scare you,
Well,
Uh,
that, and you get in, and a lot of people will talk about this. You could have the worst problems in the world driving up to the gym, but when you start walking in the door, the only thing that starts filling your
there's
head is jujitsu.
yeah,
It's like, okay, so and so's here. Oh, what was that armbar I was going to do? And then when you're rolling with somebody and they're trying to kill you, and you're not thinking about anything else.
no.
You're thinking about, how am I going to survive this roll?
Mhm.
And then sometimes when you leave jujitsu, you don't even think about your problems again until you get halfway home and go, oh, yeah, I got that problem that I got to deal with,
Yeah.
whatever it is. So there's a trick to rolling when you're older. They say Helio Gracie used to come in when he was like 95 years old,
Mhm.
and he'd come in the studio, he'd grab somebody, and he'd lay down and he'd say, mount me. And they'd get on top. He goes, okay, try to tap me. And he'd sit there and he'd do this for
Good
5 minutes.
fit,
And then he'd
fit.
go, okay, thank you. And he'd get up, and for him, he won. I'm
Yeah.
95 years old. He couldn't tap me out, you know?
That's cool. Well, I've seen those videos where he's literally in his 90s and still rolling with his grandsons and stuff, and it's the coolest thing.
Karun actually went to Brazil years ago, and he was riding around with Pedro, and they went to Helio's house. And Helio
Oh man,
was outside, and he got to meet him. And Helio said, "You want to rock? You want to roll?" He said something like, "I'll kick your ass," or something like that. They were joking around, but he
yeah,
was like ready to get out and roll right there.
that's cool.
But yeah, you gotta learn to play the game. You can't you can't. It is an old man's game too,
Hmm. You
but
just gotta play it right. Hmm.
old man against old man. It's like I started lifting weights again this week because I'm
Oh,
just getting
good.
beat up too much.
Yeah,
I stopped all strength training about 2 years ago, and I said, all I'm going to do is jujitsu. I'm just going to do it every day as much as I possibly
yeah.
can. But everybody else is doing it too, and their strength training.
And their strength training. Yeah,
And I just feel like I'm getting slammed around, and I can't break grips, and there's all these certain things that are making my game weak. And I said, you know what? I just started strength training again. I did it,
yeah.
and today was my second day. Um, and I'm going to keep on going. I've kind of dedicated myself to it. So
That's cool, man.
we'll see.
Are you strength training at the gym? Because I know they have the fitness center and stuff.
Yeah, at the gym.
Okay, okay,
I have to do it there. I won't do it anywhere else.
yeah.
And I'm doing like football player workouts.
Oh,
So
cool.
I'm only doing like 3 exercises a day. Like Tuesday was squats, uh, bench press, and bent rows, all barbells,
Hmm.
and 5 sets of 5. And so you try to go heavy. And then today was squats, military press, and deadlifts. And
So
then
all power.
yes, and then I start all over with, it'll be the same thing again. It'll be bench or squats, bench. Was the last thing I did? Squats, bench, and bent rows. Yeah, and then the next day it's squats, military press, deadlift, and this is just those 5 exercises. You do squats every time.
Oh, that's cool.
and you alternate the other 2 exercises. So it's only 5 exercises, 3 exercises a day, 5 sets of 5. That's it.
Well, I think that's going to help you improve. Definitely, strength training will help you for sure.
Yeah, has to.
Hey, brother. So, I want to thank you for coming on, first of all, telling your story, because I think it's going to touch a lot of people and help a lot of people out. It's important for people to share because, a lot of times people feel like they're alone and they
Oh
feel like
yeah.
there are other people going through the same stuff. So, definitely thank you for coming on. Are you going to close out with a song for us? Are you still going to play or?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, cool.
Just happen to have a guitar right here. Can you hear it?
Yeah, you can hear good.
Okay. This is the first song that I wrote that was completely about my whole journey, and it's about what it was like before I was drinking, kind of the lifestyle I led. It was about, and then what it was like after. I never really wrote any. I wrote little bits and pieces. I had a little into it, but I wrote this song was about the looking back at the whole thing. And this is actually the first single we released. This is the one that got all the cool reviews off of Indie Pulse magazine and the Hollywood Register or Hollywood Reporter, Hollywood Digest. There you go. So this is called Bound for Glory. I was mostly drunk and I was sick and tired. Sometimes way too drunk to drive. Many a night it was you that drove me home, drove me home. Well, I was way too blind to see the light, way too wrong to see the right. The highway to hell was where I drove, where I drove. I was bound for failure, now I'm bound for glory. I was hopelessly lost, now I'm found, now I'm found. Your amazing grace slapped me right across my face. You touched my soul and you turned my life around, life around. When I was fighting, kicking as you took my hand, dragged me screaming through the sand, opened up my eyes so I could see, I could see. Well, the light shined bright once it took, and I placed my finger in that book. I read those words that finally set me free, set me free. I was bound for failure, now I'm bound for glory. I was hopelessly lost, now I'm found, now I'm found. Your amazing grace slapped me right across my face. You touched my soul and you turned my life around, life around. I was bound for failure, now I'm bound for glory. I was hopelessly lost, now I'm found, now I'm found. Your amazing grace slapped me right across my face, touched my soul, and you turned my life around, life around. I was bound for failure, now I'm bound for glory. I was hopelessly lost, now I'm found, now I'm found. Your slap me right across my face, it touched my soul, and you turned my life around, life around, life around.
Bravo. Bravo, brother. That was fantastic. Hey, so just to let everybody know, whenever you were just playing guitar, it was cutting out a lot, but whenever you were singing, it was coming through real clear. So it came out really good.
Cool. That's the
Man,
important part.
yeah, exactly. And the guitar was, you could hear your singing and guitar together, but when you play guitar just by itself, it for some reason was cutting out some, but it still came out good.
That's because the
Thank
microphone is sitting right here, and I didn't realize that.
That's okay. That's okay. It's cool, brother. Um, well, man, thank you so much for taking time out of your night to come on my podcast. God bless you. Thank you for sharing your story. And I hope you and your family have a great, great week.
You too, man.
Thank you, brother. Take care, Denny.
Show up for jujitsu.
I will. I will. Hey, you need to talk to my wife. You talk to the boss.
Tell her I'll show you how to do it right.
That sounds good. Hey, send me that video when you get a chance about the jujitsu from is it from Henry Gracie, or who's it from?
Yeah, just look up Gracie breakdown and look up how to roll from past 40.
Okay, cool. I'll check that out.
Okay, man.
All right, brother. Take care.
See ya.
Bye-bye.